Welcome. We'll get started in just a minute as we give folks a few more moments to join. All right. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Good afternoon. My name is Shannon Serrato, and I'm the Director of Engagement here at Cradle-to-Career. We are so glad to have you all with us today. And before we jump into today's session, I want to go over a bit of housekeeping. This meeting is being recorded and will be made available on the Cradle-to-Career YouTube page, as well as posted on the Cradle-to-Career site under Get Involved and on our community conversation pages in the coming days. Equity and accessibility are central to our work as we build the data system, and our meetings are now available in the languages needed for the populations that we serve. Today's meeting is closed caption enabled. To turn on captions, click the three dots to the far right bottom of your screen and select captions. You can also select your preferred language by launching the CC button at the bottom of your screen. We're also glad to once again have Spanish interpretation services offered for today's session, with a big thanks to Giselle Franco for joining us this afternoon. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Giselle for a few instructions on how to enable interpretation for today's session.
Hi, thank you very much. Buenas tardes a todos los presentes en esta reunión. Tenemos disponibles los servicios de interpretación para la reunión de la Junta que se realizará por transmisión web por Zoom. Para escuchar los comentarios, preguntas en español, seleccione el icono del globo terráqueo en la parte inferior de la pantalla que dice Interpretación o Interpretation. Luego seleccione Language Interpretation, Audio, Interpretación, Audio y su idioma español. Así escuchará en directo los comentarios en español. Thank you. Back to you.
Thanks, Giselle. So with that, while participants are muted for today's meeting, you're welcome to ask any questions you may have in the chat or the Q&A. And on that note, I want to highlight that we'll be utilizing the community guidelines that we created with you all to guide today's meeting. We want to foster a brave and respectful shared space, and we appreciate your commitment to creating community with one another. For more, please visit c2c.ca.gov/community guidelines. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to our Director of Data Programs, Ryan Estriato.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for being with us today during a lunchtime if you're here on the West Coast. And really happy to have everybody. In a moment, I'm going to be leading us through some introduction questions just so that we can get to know you a little bit better and also share a little bit about who we are. But let's launch into that part first. If this is your first time here at a community conversation event or any of our events at the Office of Cradle-to-Career Data, then I want to welcome you. Thank you for joining, and also share a little bit about what we do and who we are and what our mission is. Our office and the California Cradle-to-Career Data System was named in state legislation, and it was named to be California's source of actionable data and research on several topics, including education, economic, and health outcomes for individuals, families, and also communities. We want to be the most inclusive data system of its kind in the nation, and to go on that journey towards that goal, we are focusing on three things. The first is community engagement to inform the development, interpretation, and awareness of the data system that we build. The second is our work in partnership with CCGI and also eTranscript to scale tools that support college and career planning for Californians. And finally, of course, building the analytical data set on education and job outcomes. It's a lot of information, and it takes a little bit, if you're new to our work, to dive in and understand fully what we're trying to do together as an office and also with you as a community. And to help you with that, there is a handy one-pager linked on this slide that gives a nice, concise summary of our work. If you are already familiar with our work, please help us by sharing that one-pager, because we think that's a great way to begin understanding what it is that we are trying to accomplish together with you. Okay, so that's it for about us, and now we want to learn more about you. So I've got 3 sets of questions here. I'm going to go through these pretty quickly, but they're meant to welcome back folks who have been to previous events, but also especially giving a warm welcome to folks who are new to our work or to this event in particular. And so in a moment, I'm going to ask Angelique to reveal the first set of questions. And when I do, I'm going to read them, and then I'm going to count back from 3. And then if you're comfortable doing so, and I hope you are, you'll leave some answers in the chat. I will go through these pretty quickly, but you can answer whenever you want. And so if you want to keep the conversation going in the chat, we encourage that. Okay. Let's go ahead and reveal the first set of questions. Here it is. In the chat, I'm going to count back from 3. When I count back from 3 in the chat, please put your name, organization, and where you are joining us from. Typing fingers ready. Enter in the chat. 3, 2, 1, go. There's Jackie, coordinator, college and career. Shelly, welcome. Michael, welcome. Okay, keep those coming. And as folks enter into the chat, do skim through and see, is there anybody that you know here? Are there folks from similar areas? Maybe it does the same job as you. This is much a introduction to each other as it is to us. Keep those coming. Don't feel like you have to stop. I'm going to ask Angelique to give the next set of questions here that you can answer when you are ready. Is this your first community conversation event with us? What are you most looking forward to today? If you haven't answered the first question yet, it's okay. You can skip it or you can keep on going. But typing fingers ready. Answer the second question. 3, 2, 1, go. Scroll through here. Okay, Jackie says, not the first time in an event. Peek at the dashboard was what I'm excited about. Okay, let's see here. Linda says, not my first event. Looking forward. Oops. It's going pretty quick here. Michael says, no, not my new event. Okay, so we have a lot of repeat attendees. This is great. New information. Looking for new information. RDL says, first time attending. RDL, welcome. Okay, and the final set of questions. Please keep those coming. Final set, Angelique, please. Okay. What advice would you give to your younger self in elementary school? Answer in 3, 2, 1, go. Michael says, have as much fun as possible. Jackie says, keep math as my friend. Linda, everything is going to be okay. Shannon says, don't jump off too many ledges. Take care of your knees. It's practical advice. I like it. Melissa says, perfect attendance is not so important. Louise says, study abroad. Okay, keep these coming. I have to move on because we're going on to the next session. We don't have a ton of time, but please do keep these coming. I think this last question is particularly important because it captures the whole spirit of what we are trying to accomplish together. Yes, we are building a data system. There are many technical elements of that. We do spend a lot of time talking about the technical elements of what we've promised to the public. And also, this is very much a conversation that we want to support happening across all major milestones in the lives of Californians, and in particular, so that young folks in California can benefit from advice and guidance as they find their journey going into education and then onward into college, if that is their path, and into the workforce. Okay. Thanks, everybody, for participating in that. And now I am going to hand it back over to Shannon for our next part. Thanks, Shannon.
Great. Thank you, Ryan. And thank you all for sharing with us today. It's so nice to be in community with you all, even virtually. And so it's really great that we get to interact with each other in the chat. So thank you again for sharing with us. We've got a full agenda for this afternoon. So today we'll give you a quick update on the progress made here at C2C since we last spoke. We'll then provide an early look at the redesigned C2C website, and then we'll take an in-depth look at C2C's planned community engagement events and outreach. Next slide, please. So we've heard from the community that you would like regular updates on progress made at Cradle-to-Career. So I'm going to give a very high-level overview of what we've been up to in the last few weeks. So we're going to kick off our update with a huge milestone achieved. The data infrastructure team has taken great strides in the build of our analytical tools, and we're super proud to share that the data system is receiving its first data submissions from data partners this month, which have direct implications on the overall build of the analytical data set. So we're very, very excited about that. At the end of August, Governor Gavin Newsom issued Executive Order N1123 that directs the state's top public education and workforce leaders to develop a proposed new master plan on career education. C2C was named in the executive order, which integrates and aligns programs funded by the state's historic investments in this space and includes 3 broad goals: career pathways, hands-on learning and real-life skills, and universal access and affordability. Moving on to practical tools, I want to share that plans are underway for joint communications efforts for all higher education segments in the state, which include the California community colleges, California State University, and University of California, along with the California Department of Education and CSAC, to promote and build awareness around californiacolleges.edu, intended to be the state's one-stop shop for college and financial aid planning in advance of free universal basic accounts becoming available to all 6th through 12th grade students by next fall. We will be rolling out an informational campaign that includes a social media toolkit and targeted messaging to various audiences across the state. So stay tuned for more. I also want to share that we've recently concluded interviews and surveys for this year's student experience audit, which ensures C2C hears from students and families about issues that directly impact them as we gear up for work around eTranscript California. Led by our Deputy Director of Digital Services, Judy Chan, C2C is diving headfirst into the work this year with the goal of streamlining and improving the transcript process for the state of California. I'm seeing people are very excited in the chat. We're very, very excited too. Moving on, a third of C2C's advisory board members cycle off each year, and we were overwhelmed by the outpouring of interest this year during the application process, receiving 118 applications in total. The governing board faced the nearly impossible task of filling 11 slots with so many qualified candidates, but we are glad to have seated 6 new community engagement and 5 new data and tools advisory board members a few months ago, as early as or soon as last month or last week. Time flies. Our new advisory board members joined 2 newly seated governing board members, and we are very excited for the work ahead with them. As mandated in Education Code 10866, the office is required to submit regular reports to the governor and California state legislature, documenting progress made to the implementation of the data system. And this year's report documented progress made during FY 2022-23. The first year prioritized continuity with the vision and plans defined during the 18th-month planning process. And in its second year, C2C focused on advancing the strategic vision, mission, and goals of the Office of Cradle-to-Career Data. The report was submitted on September 1st, which you can find under resources on the C2C site. And finally, we are growing. I'm sure it sounds like I say that all the time, but it's because it's actually true. We've got a lot of new faces here at C2C, including 2 of my colleagues, Angelique Palomar and David Lang, who are joining us today. We are hiring with a capital H. We're hoping to be fully staffed by very early next year, and we'd be glad to have this group's help spreading the word. We've got open positions that range from a communications specialist to a legal and governance analyst, with many more positions coming soon. So I encourage folks to visit c2c.ca.gov/careers to learn more. And with those updates, I'm going to turn to the heart of today's community conversation. So a brand new, exciting, inviting website has always been a key deliverable as part of the build of the data system, because the website will be one of the main, if not only, ways users interact and engage with the data system. And we've been working hard on a reimagined C2C website that we'll be previewing with you all today. We've taken critical steps to ensure the successful revamp of the C2C site, which includes the engagement of website firm 10up for the redesign of the site. 10up is a respected firm that has an extensive portfolio that includes many agencies in the state, and they've notably worked on sites for 538 and the California Department of Motor Vehicles. We know that the new Cradle-to-Career website should engage visitors by presenting attractive visuals, intuitive navigation, and concise messaging, while also increasing functionality and be easy to use. The design should be modern and showcase information and data relative to stakeholders. And the new site will be intuitive with mobile responsive design, flexible, visually appealing, informative, important. It will be safe and secure, accessible and ADA compliant, and able to support data dashboards and tools, including our query builders. We've completed the strategic planning and design phases for the website revamp and are now focused on content migration and testing. The new site is targeted to relaunch in just a few short weeks. So with that, I'm happy to provide a sneak peek of the new site now. So on your screen are recent prototypes of the C2C homepage. The new design is bright, modern, and inviting, incorporating subtle nods to C2C's work, which include the color bars you see on the left side of the screen, artsy bar charts, if you will, that can be found throughout the site. Much of the content, including collateral such as fact sheets and infographics, are being completely redesigned with our various stakeholders in mind, and we will be building on our work to ensure that we are developing the most inclusive data system in the nation, making sure that not only is our site fully accessible, but includes materials translated into the languages spoken by the people of California, delivering on the goal of building a data system for everyone. Next slide, please. Oh, you're already there. In addition to totally redesigning the existing site and content, we've got a lot of other cool things in the works. We spent a lot of time talking about C2C's planned data dashboards, and the new site will feature what we're calling data stories, which provide a holistic picture about specific topics such as teacher retention and training and student pathways. The data stories will not only house our long-anticipated analytical tools, but will also feature companion materials that seek to facilitate data literacy for all users. So not only those that eat data for breakfast will be able to engage with the site. We'll be developing informational one-pagers, interactive videos, and dashboard user tutorials, neutral guides by personas, and learning agendas to support C2C's data dashboards. We'll also be sharing our newly developed data dictionaries and a revamped process for searching for data points and elements as seen on the screen. The data system contains over 200 data elements, and the new site will allow users to drill down into topics and data points of interest. Transparency is a key value at C2C, which we are fully committed to, with the new site featuring pages focused specifically on data privacy and security. So now that we've walked through the plans for the site, it's important to note that while we're not that far from relaunch, we still have more work to do. Importantly, we want to use today to gauge your thoughts about one of the most important aspects of the site, the homepage headline, how we greet each other online. On your screen are 4 potential options for C2C's homepage headline. So in just a second, we're going to launch a poll for your thoughts. All right. So on your screen, you see 4 options, and we want to hear what message resonates with you most when thinking about the new site. We've got making data public for the people, public data, powered by Californians, making data public for the people of California, and we've got the pithy, the people's data. We're going to give folks a few minutes to think and vote. And if you have a suggestion that's not on your screen, we want to hear that too. Please drop your ideas into the chat. We're at nearly half of folks participating, so we'll give some folks some time. Louis says, I'm not sure how I feel about references to California, Californians, and the website headline. Thank you, Louise, for that feedback. And if you have more flags or concerns, please drop those in the chat too. You want to make sure that we are really hearing from folks during this time. because while we can certainly revise a headline, we don't want to. So we want to get it right in the first go around. So really appreciate your time today. All right, I think we're going to give folks, we're about 70% there. A couple more seconds, and then I think we can end the poll. All right. So looks like nearly 1/3 of you liked making data public for the people. 31% public data powered Californians sounds good. Not that many people appreciated making data public for the people of California and the people's data, a close third. So thank you for that. I'm going to stop sharing now. Great. So today's session has been super helpful. Thank you for sharing your thoughts on the new C2C website. We're going to take today's feedback into account. As I said, we are very much involved in the content process. So this session is very helpful for moving forward. And we can't wait to share the final site with you. So with that, we're going to turn now to C2C's user-centered design and community engagement work. And I'm going to hand it over to David Lang, C2C's research manager, who's going to kick off this item for us today.
Thank you, Shannon. Good afternoon, everyone. As the data manager at Cradle-to-Career California, I'm excited to announce some news that promises to further our mission and drive our impact. We have recently forged a partnership with the UC Berkeley's Possibility Lab. The Possibility Lab is a diverse team of policy researchers and practitioners who partner with governments and communities to design, pilot, and scale data-driven ideas for the public good. This collaboration is a significant step forward as C2C prepares to build its public-facing tools, and I'm here to give you a glimpse of what this means for us and our stakeholders. One of the most exciting aspects of this partnership is the coordination on user-centered design activity. This means that as we develop and refine our systems, we'll be putting users at the forefront of key decisions. By doing so, we ensure that the tools and platforms we offer are not only technically sound, but also user-friendly and tailored to the specific needs of our audiences. Furthermore, UC Berkeley's Possibility Lab will serve as a consulting resource for us on a myriad of technical subjects. Their expertise will be invaluable to us in guiding us through complex issues related to demography, differential privacy, and various other data system issues. Next slide. As we continue to delve deeper into our partnership with the Possibilities Lab, there's another key objective I'd like to highlight, which emphasizes our commitment to continuous improvement and user experience. Our objective is to collect feedback and iterate, focusing on enhancing the functionality and usability of our dashboards. And I want to emphasize this isn't just about technical refinement. It's about ensuring that the tools we build are genuinely beneficial to the people who use them. In terms of deliverable, our first project with the Possibilities Lab will be a series of focus groups on our two debuting dashboards, our teacher training dashboard and our student pathway dashboard. These are obviously crucial products in our data ecosystem, and we want to ensure that they're as intuitive and effective as possible. Our partnership with the Possibilities Lab will entail recruitment of participants for key focus groups, moderating these sessions, and meticulously collecting feedback in ways that we can then operationalize and incorporate into our product development process. The benefits of this approach are quite clear. First, we'll be gaining valuable insights into the experiences of our users. Second, we'll be committing to our goals of user-centered design and iterative feedback to allow us to identify areas where we can improve and enhance our tools. And by involving educators, students, and stakeholders in this development process, we're fostering a sense of collective ownership and collaboration, all aimed at bettering educational outcomes and informed use of data. And to further amplify our efforts, we are also developing a toolkit with the Possibilities Lab to seek even more extensive feedback as part of our broader community engagement process. This toolkit will be a comprehensive resource as we take these dashboards on the road, enabling us to tap into the diverse perspectives and ensure that our platform truly resonates with the communities we need. With that, I'll hand things off to Shannon to talk a little bit more about the roadmap.
All right. Thank you so much, David. So now that David's shared that exciting progress with you all, I wanted to pull back and review C2C's user-centered design process with a focus on C2C's data dashboards and how we'll be expanding on this work with our planned in-person community engagement events. If you've been following us for a while, you've heard about C2C's approach to user-centered design specifically as we build C2C's data dashboards, but I wanted to provide an overview of the process, where we've been, where we are now, and where we're going. So on the screen is a roadmap of C2C's user-centered design work. C2C was signed into law July of 2021, and what followed was an 18-month planning process led by WestEd that got us to where we are today. That planning process defined how C2C will interact, engage with, and solicit input from the public, which laid the groundwork for the work we've done as an office. Ryan and I joined Cradle-to-Career last year, and one of our first tasks was launching C2C's user-centered design work. In November of 2022, we kicked off an early community conversation with community members to create a shared understanding of C2C's data dashboards and requested initial input about the planned analytical tools. We then took what we heard back to the office, synthesizing feedback from the public, and engaged the design firm Chapter 3 for work on the data visualizations and user flow of C2C's planned data dashboards. Which leads us to where we are today. We're orange. We're deep in the weeds of developing C2C's data dashboards, and the feedback this group provides today will directly impact how we will engage with the public during our community engagement event scheduled to launch at the end of this year. We want to ensure that we're hearing from all of our key stakeholders and that they have an opportunity to voice how they would like to engage with C2C's analytical tools, which we will think on and pressure test in the next phase of this work. Moving on to fall, winter of 2023, you just heard from David about C2C's partnership with UC Berkeley's Possibility Lab for focus group work, which will further develop our plans for how we will go forth and engage with the public later this year and early next. We are very eager to get out into the field and meet people where they are now that we have more than a team of 2. So at the tail end of this year, we will plan to launch those in-person community engagement events across the state to solicit input on dashboard prototypes and iterate on development and design. And then we'll launch our data dashboards in the summer of 2024. Hooray, we'll be so excited. A key milestone and deliverable of C2C, we're marching towards releasing analytical tools that will provide critical insights about education and workforce outcomes for the public, but that's not the end. Following our initial launch, we plan to go back into the field with an expanded scope and reach many more communities for in-person training events to facilitate data literacy for all types of users of the data dashboards and refine our analytical tools. And we hope to gather feedback on the dashboards post-launch to iterate on the tools and apply lessons learned to the next batch of our planned dashboards. Okay, so now with that holistic picture of what we've done and what we aim to achieve in the coming months, I want to drill down to the task at hand today. As just mentioned, we are champing at the bit to get into the field and meet people where they are, but we know that not all Californians have the resources to engage with C2C online or are even aware that C2C exists. So we want to take the next few months to meet members of the community in their neighborhood to share about C2C's goals and objectives broadly, and to solicit feedback about the early iterations of C2C's data dashboard so we can take that feedback and revise our analytical tools to meet the needs of our community. Planned to start at the end of this year, C2C will begin outreach in 5 areas: Sacramento, the Bay Area, the San Joaquin Valley, Kern County, and San Diego, to pressure test messaging and materials, as well as gather early feedback about C2C's dashboard prototypes. So why these 5 communities, you may be asking? While C2C is growing, we are still a very small state entity with less than 20 members of staff. So we want to start with the areas where we already have a slight footprint to begin these conversations with the goal of expanding to many more areas next year. Next slide, please. So now that we've established our initial plans for the first iteration of C2C's roadshows, we want to hear from you. What does the community need at these events? We are in the midst of revising our informational one-pagers that will be translated into the 8 languages most spoken by the people of California. We also want to share information about the data that C2C will link, focusing on data privacy and data security. And finally, we will be sharing the preliminary data dashboard wireframes and prototypes for user feedback. But what else would be helpful to have on hand? Please drop any ideas that you have in the chat. We've got a graphic design firm and interpretation services standing by for this work, and we'll prioritize good ideas to ensure we have the information and materials needed to best deliver information about C2C. While we give folks a minute to think about that question, I want to just voice over some thoughts in the chat. Jackie says Sacramento City Unified would love to host you for an in-person event. Great, thank you, Jackie. We've got early takers for Sacramento. Steph Johnson in Austin says, please come visit San Diego's juvenile court and community schools. Great. Elizabeth asked, you already have an email address where we can submit feedback to? Great question. In a couple of minutes, Elizabeth, we're going to launch a survey, and I'm also going to preview that we have an email, info@c2c.ca.gov, that you can reach us at any time. That is monitored by a human, many humans actually now. So if you have any just thoughts that are not happening today, and you have thought maybe in a couple of days, couple of weeks, please feel free to email that. Okay, moving on to materials. Jackie says media publicity toolkits. As I said, Angelique is our new Deputy Director of Communications, and she will be spearheading a lot of that media work. So thank you for that flag. We really hope to amplify our work through the press this year. So that's a great flag. RDL says materials that legislative staff can use to disseminate to constituents. Also, good flag, our Deputy Director of Legislative Affairs will be starting next week, and they will be spearheading some of this work. So I'm really excited that the engagement team is growing so that we can really get our work out in ways that we just haven't been able to do so far. And Steph Johnson says videos. Roxana has some ideas about opt out of the data system. She's concerned about privacy. And so I just also want to flag to Roxana and others on this group that we are really taking data privacy, data security very seriously. As I've said, we have whole sections of our site that we will be just expanding on the work that we are doing to make sure that data privacy and data security are top of mind. We have many people on staff who are thinking about this work all the time. So I appreciate all of these thoughts, and we will be making sure that we are appropriately communicating some of those so that folks can feel good about what we're doing. Shelley says the table contents and the elements of how the data will be disaggregated by racial and linguistic groups. That's a good flag. We probably should update our data elements pages now that it's been about a year. Louise says infographic tailored to school boards. That's a great idea. And Margaret says, would love to hear about the strategy for student subgroups such as foster youth and those unhoused. Great. Thank you so much. These are all super helpful. We've been talking about targeted outreach and targeted materials, but these are specific groups that we can be reaching out to. So I appreciate that feedback. All right. Let's see. I think we can maybe move on. You have all provided some great food for thought, and we're going to take this back to our folks internally and think about what we can do prior to launch, prior to these community events. But we'll move on. So next slide, please. So thank you again for your thoughts and input. We want to ensure that we are allocating resources appropriately during this time. So the feedback that you just provided will be very helpful to make sure we have the materials and information needed to develop the most inclusive events possible. While the first of many planned roadshows, the feedback we received during these community events will directly impact the build of C2C's analytical tools. We will take that feedback to iterate on dashboard design and development, and post-launch, we will go back into the field for additional trainings, specifically to meet people where they are, to do hands-on one-on-one tutorials with folks so that they can figure out how to touch and access the data for themselves. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to C2C's new Deputy Director of Communications, Angelique Palomar, for additional thoughts about our plans for community outreach.
Thanks, Shannon. Here at C2C, we can't emphasize enough the power of community connections. And we're all really excited to be hitting the road and engaging with our local regions to better understand the unique needs of each community. And so we want to ensure that our message reaches as wide of a network as possible in the communities that we're visiting. And so we're really leaning on this group today to help us point to the right direction. As for who we should be reaching out to and what public events we should be participating in. I saw some folks in the chat already provide some great tips. Jackie invited us to go to Sacramento Unified, so we deeply appreciate that. And right now we're actively seeking for partnerships with various entities within these regions, including our local education agencies, community leaders, and advocacy groups. So as Shannon mentioned earlier, Sacramento is one of the regions that we'll be hitting up first. So if you have any suggestions for entities that C2C could collaborate with in the Sacramento region, please let us know by entering in the chat. I see, let's see. Arash recommended, please connect with Trauma Transformed in Oakland. Thank you so much. We'll definitely connect with them as we're gearing up for the Bay Area tour. Thank you so much for sharing your contact information. I'll give folks another second or two. Shelly, Californians Together would be interested. Is Californians Together in the Sacramento region? Just curious to know. Ed Trust West in Sacramento, Bay Area, and LA. Thank you, Raquel. Steph Johnston, Austin, San Diego County Office of Ed. Perfect. Thank you all so much. Please continue the recommendations, and in a little bit, I'll hand it off to Shannon, who will preview the survey, where you'll have more of an opportunity to dive deep into a little bit more of the recommendations that we're asking for today. So these are all really great. Thank you so much. We'll be sure to follow up with the leads that you all provided. And so I'll hand it back to Shannon to go over the upcoming survey, which will be another opportunity for you all to voice some of these pointers. So thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Angelique. And I am loving that there are partnerships already in place. Looks like Ed Trust West and the Sacramento Unified want to team up to help us do some of this work. So I'm super excited. We've got more comments in the chat, so I'm just going to read some more out loud. And Jolly says Department of Rehabilitation Transition Partnership Programs, CD Workability Program, California Transition Alliance. These are all great resources. Thank you so much for that. And those are all related to WBL programs for students with disabilities. Thank you for voicing that. And Jolly, we really appreciate that. And again, when thinking about folks who also just have special circumstances, we want to make sure that we are truly prioritizing their needs. So I really, really appreciate these various resources. Looks like we've got some more information about San Bernardino. Thank you so much about that. Looks like there's a lot of collaboration happening in the chat. So thank you so much. We will be following up. This is a treasure trove of information. So I'm just so thankful for your participation today. Next slide, please. All right. So with that, we've asked a lot of you all today, and we are so grateful for your participation. Truly, you know, these community conversations are about you all as much as they are about C2C. We would not be able to do what we do without you. So just wanted to say that. Your feedback will help us best prepare for these events. So we're going to ask you just one more time. we want to learn about the folks who are joining us today. We know a lot about you, but we have a survey that we're trying to get out into the field more broadly. So in just a few minutes, I'm going to actually drop this into the chat now. We have a survey that we hope to learn more about the folks who are joining us, the communities where we already have a strong foothold, what languages are needed in the communities that we're entering, so we can plan for inclusive and accessible events. As I've mentioned, we have interpretation services, and if we need to have folks on hand, we will do so. So we just want to make sure that we are preparing for that. And, we just want to make sure that we're planning for inclusive and accessible events beyond Sacramento. So in the survey that you see here, you will also be able to provide that information and then, share some of the contact information that some of y'all have dropped into the chat. I really appreciate those. But as I've said, if folks come up to, in mind in a couple of days from now, if you just have a thought next week, as always, you can reach out to info@c2c.ca.gov. You can also submit this survey. We're going to keep it up for a while because this is an ongoing process, an ongoing event, so not something that's just going to happen overnight. So we welcome any thoughts, feedback that you may have, because we are really, really excited to get out there. The survey is 3 minutes total of your time. So I hope that you'll be able to take the survey and share it with your networks. We'll be posting it to social media later today, so you can always amplify there. And you'll also see incoming emails from Cradle to Career. We want to make sure that we're casting as wide of a net as possible. So please, please, please share this broadly if you're able. All right, next slide. So with that brings us to the end of our community conversation. I just want to thank you all for joining and engaging with us today. You'll see on the screen our email address that I've been dropping in, and I'll drop it into the chat right now. info@c2c.ca.gov. This is how you can reach any of us here at Cradle to Career. And, we're around. So please feel free to drop us a line. If you have any questions or comments or suggestions, please email us there. A recording of today's meeting and community engagement survey will be found on c2c.ca.gov/community conversations pages, which, as a note, has recordings of every conversation that we've done in the past, in case you're wondering what we've been up to. And otherwise, I just thank you for spending your lunchtime with us. I know it's not a small ask to give us your noontime hour, but we're so grateful for your engagement, and I hope that you all have the great rest of your day. Thank you.